Are you an absolute beginner looking to find Revit tutorial specific to your needs? Look no further. In this tutorial, I will show you the step-by-step process of creating a project from scratch till the end. Whether you are diving in head first or you're looking to tiptoe your way into architectural designs using Revit, well, this tutorial is made specifically with you in mind. I will simplify each step to make it easy for you to follow along. Don't hesitate to pause the videos at intervals and practice the processes over and over again. I have included links to some of the files I've used in the descriptions below, and feel free to download and study these files as they are designed to complement your learning experience. I will show you the fundamental principles such as how to create grids, levels, walls, roofs, stairs, all the components that you will need to create in designing a building. For this tutorial, I've used Revit 2024 version, but if you are watching this video from the future and you're using a later version of the software, the principles I've taught in this video will work just fine. Also, in the description, you will find links as to how you can download the software free of charge if you are a student. And if you're looking to use the software for 30 days, there's also a link as to where you can download the trial version. But before I introduce you to the project, it's important, after all, to learn how to navigate around the Revit user interface. So it's appropriate that we begin our class by understanding the Revit user interface. Hey, by the way, don't forget to subscribe to my channel and let me know your feedback in the comment sections below. Let's begin the class. When you first open Revit, this is the view you will see. Let me introduce you to the ribbon. The ribbon. At the top of the screen is the ribbon. It is your go-to toolbox, equipped with all the tools you need to bring design to life. It adapts to your screen size, so everything fits just right. It is divided into tabs. You can move effortlessly through the tabs by clicking on any tab. When you click on a tab, the Modify tab appears, showing more tools that relates to the task at hand. For example, click on the Annotate tab and then select the Align Dimension tool. Observe how the Modify tab now extends to provide context for the Align Dimension tools. That is, more tools is now visible. The Modify tab is also a contextual ribbon tab that showcases all the tools relevant to the current selected tool. To exit the contextual tab, select the Modify icon, that is the arrow icon, or just press Escape on your keyboard. The Project Browser. The Project Browser contains views, schedules, sheets, and all other elements relating to the current project. We can open a view by double-clicking on the view. For example, I will open the view named L2 by double-clicking on it. You can extend or collapse the branch to display items within the branch. I will scroll down using my mouse wheel to the branch 3D view, locate the loft unit, and double-click to open it. As you might have noticed, the project browser can easily get complex to navigate as the project develops. Use the search within the project browser to easily search for a specific view. Let's search for parking. Locate the parking schedule and double-click to open it. Now let's learn about the property panel. And to do this, open the sample file abc beam demo file-01. I have the link in the description. And with the file opened, let's learn about the property panel. Directly above the project browser is the property palette. As the name suggests, it displays the properties of the selected items or elements in Revit. For example, if I select any element on the screen, I can view and modify the element's property from the property palette. Let's select one of the walls, for example, and change its height to 3 meters. I will select the other wall and change the wall type from a solid wall to a glass-based wall. I will also change its height to 3 meters. The property palette is also a contextual palette. That is, the content changes based on the elements that is selected. For example, I will change the selection to the desk. You can see that the information relating to the desk is now displayed on the property palette. I will change the selection to the window, and you can see properties relating to the windows is also displayed. With the window selected, I can now change the sail height and head height of my window. In this case, I will change the sail height to 0.9 meters. The canvas or the drawing area. This is the big white space on your Revit screen. It displays the views, sheets, and schedules of the current model. Knowing how to easily navigate around the model is important, and I will now show you how to navigate around the view. Navigating in the 3D drawing area. Zooming in and out. Zooming in and out is easy. Using your middle mouse button, scroll the wheel forward to zoom in or scroll the wheel backward to zoom out. Panning left and right. To pan left or right, press the middle mouse button and move the mouse left or right. Rotating around a 3D view. To rotate a view, press and hold the Shift key. At the same time, press the middle mouse button and move the mouse in the desired direction. That is, press and hold the Shift key on your keyboard, press the middle mouse button, and move the mouse. Some tips and tricks about the Revit navigation I will show you. And the first tip I will show you has to do with zooming in and out on an item on the screen. To zoom in and out on an item on screen, place the cursor on the item before using the middle mouse button. Let's zoom in and out on the window, for example. Place the cursor on the window, move the mouse forward or backward, and Revit will zoom in on the window or zoom out on the window. The second tip has to do with rotating around an item. For example, let's rotate around the desk. Select an item to rotate around it. So by selecting the desk and using the rotation command, that is holding down your Shift key on the keyboard and pressing down the middle mouse button, move the mouse in the direction you want to rotate. And the desk now becomes the center axis of the rotation. And this way, the desk is always in focus when you rotate around the screen. Tip number 3. Use the navigation wheel for more navigation controls. Click once on the navigation wheel. Use the on-screen navigation control to pan, zoom, orbit, and rewind. The rewind command reverts to a previous viewpoint. Let's rewind the view using the rewind command. Click and hold on the rewind command tool and move your cursor to the left or right to move back or forward in time. The view cube. The view cube is only used for navigating 3D views. It is a clickable and draggable tool that allows you to switch between standard and isometric views. Click on the area marked top to orient the view to plan. and the area marked left or right to orient the view to left or right. You can also click on the corner to change the view to an axonometric view. Click on the home icon to return to the default 3D state. I will now use the rewind tool to move back in time. Navigating within the 2D environment. The principle of navigating in a 2D environment is the same with navigating in a 3D environment. Of course, 3D rotation is not applicable to 2D. Other icons on the canvas area. There are other useful icons at the bottom of each view. Let's see the functions of some of these icons. Scale, used to change the scale of the drawing in the current view. Visual style, as the name suggests, it is used to change the visual style of your current view. I will change the view to different visual styles, and then I will change it back to shaded. Shadows, as the name implies also, this is used to toggle on and off shadows in the view. Keep in mind that the tasks performed by these icons at the bottom can also be performed from the Property Palette. The status bar. One important section of the Revit UI is the status bar. It is located along the very bottom of the screen. It provides useful tips or hints that are helpful to your workflow. For example, if I select a wall, the status bar informs me that I have one element selected. I will select another item in addition to the wall. Do this by holding down the Control key on the keyboard and pressing on another item to add to the first selection. Notice the status of the selected item now updates to 2. Click on the white space to deselect everything, and the status of the selected items is now back to 0. Always keep an eye out for information in the status bar as it gives useful feedback on what is going on in your Revit project. So let's summarize everything we've learned about the Revit interface. The Revit interface is divided into 4 main parts. The ribbon, which is located at the top. It provides all the tools necessary to create a project. The property panel, which is where you view and modify the properties of elements. The project browser, which allows you to organize, navigate, and open views from other windows. The canvas. Think of the canvas as a drawing board where you do your sketch and your designs. Now that you have a basic understanding of how the Revit UI works, let's practice the following exercise together. Create a new project using the architectural template. Select the wall icon and click once on the canvas. Extend the wall in the desired direction and click once to end the wall. Click on the modify icon or press escape to end the wall command. From the project browser, double-click on the 3D view and click once to select the wall. Change the wall type to curtain wall storefront and also change the height to 3 meters. Change it back to solid wall and look for the wall named as shown on the screen. That is wall-ext_215pwk. Enable the shadow and click on top view from the view cube. Click on the arrow pointing downwards and click on different arrows to move around the project. Now click on the full navigation wheel and use the rewind tool to go back in time. This concludes our overview of the Revit user interface. Now let me introduce you to the project properly. The project consists of multiple floors of typical units. It has an access staircase to the side and a walkway all around each unit. There's a glass window or a glass wall on one side of each of the buildings. And the interior is quite basic. The goal of using this sample project is to teach you the basic skills that you will require in creating your project. So let's start. And of course, we'll start by defining the level for each of the units. Hey, by the way, if you're enjoying this video, make sure you subscribe to my channel and leave some comments as well. Let me know honestly how you feel about the video. Given the seriousness of your intent in using Revit for professional purposes, I recommend customizing your user interface for optimum performance. It is important that you do this before starting your project so that every time you power up Revit, you are welcome with the customized interface that is optimized for productivity. It is important to know that this customization is a recommendation. You don't have to use your Revit like that, but I've been using Revit for over a decade, and trust me, you'll get more if you set up your interface similar to what I'm about to show you. Adjust the height of the project browser and the property panel. As you may have observed, the project browser can get incredibly complex and busy, making navigation through groups and folders time-consuming. Similarly, scrolling through the property panel can be a daunting task. An effective solution is to position the project browser and the property panel side by side. This arrangement provides more screen space and reduces the need for excessive scrolling. To dock the panel side by side, click and drag on the property header. Drag the panel to detach the dock. Now gently position it next to the project browser. Release the mouse once you see the blue highlight. You can also drag the property panel to the right of the screen. Simply drag and hold the panel to the right end of your screen and release the mouse when you see the blue highlight. Personally, I find it more efficient to dock the property panel next to the project browser. This approach I find allows me to keep my eyes and mouse movement concentrated in the same area while accomplishing tasks. This eliminates the need for me to constantly shift my eyes from left to right while I'm trying to model or design in Revit. Adjust the quick access toolbar. One final adjustment involves repositioning the quick access toolbar. The quick access toolbar serves as a customizable dashboard where you can add your favorite tools. Think of it as an essential toolbox, allowing you to incorporate your preferred tool. To maximize the efficiency of the quick access toolbar, consider moving it closer to your workspace by following these steps. Click on the tiny arrow next to the quick access toolbar, and then click Show Below ribbon. This customization moves your preferred tools closer to your canvas, again eliminating the need for longer mouse movements when you are busy modeling in Revit. While the tool access toolbar comes with a default set of tools, you have the flexibility to add more tools based on your needs. Adding and removing tools from the quick access toolbar can easily be done using the following steps. Navigate to the tool you want to add. Right-click on the tool and select Add to Quick Access Toolbar. To remove tools from the Quick Access Toolbar, simply right-click on the tool and choose Remove from Quick Access Toolbar. That concludes the customization of the Revit interface. Let me know if you have other creative ways by which you have customized your Revit interface in the comment section. After all, I can learn from you, and of course, the community can learn from you as well. Now that you have your user interface well customized, let's begin the project. Setting up a Revit project, fundamental principles. Levels. In Revit, level serves as a representation of the floor levels within your building. They are consistently parallel and possesses a defined height. Typically, you will establish the level for each story of your building, and additional levels may be designated for crucial elements such as the top of the foundation, top of the steel parapets, and so on. Essentially, any significant vertical location in your project can be denoted by a level. By default, at least one level must be present in a Revit file. How to create levels. Navigate to an elevation view. Click on the level icon under the Architecture tab. Ensure that Make Plan View is selected. Click once and drag in the direction you want to create the level. Repeat this process to create 3 more levels. It is possible to adjust the height of a level after you have created it. I will modify the height of the levels to 3 meters interval. Select level 1 and then adjust the elevation to 3 meters from the property window. Use the pick lines to easily create multiple levels. Let's do this by activating the level command and then select the pick line tool. Set the offset to 3 meters. Now create more levels, bringing the total number of levels to 12. Now let's rename 2 of the levels, designating them ground level and roof level. Select level 0 and rename it from the property panel. Confirm the renaming of the corresponding views when prompted. For level 12, click on the level name and rename it directly from the canvas. To align the level heads, click on the blue dot and drag the level head until they are aligned. You can see this by the ghosted line that shows that the levels are aligned. It is a good practice to align the levels, just so it makes the model looks good graphically. Grids. To create grids, navigate to a plan view, for example, the ground floor. Select the grid tool from the Architecture tab. Click and drag your mouse to create horizontal grids. Press Escape on your keyboard to exit the grid command and select the grid that you have just created. Now, enter the grid identifier on the property panel. I will name the grid A. Create 2 more grids and set their distance as you wish. We will specify an absolute distance later. Now let's create a vertical grid. This time around, I will designate the identifier directly from the canvas. Use the pick line to create the grids at 3 meters interval. You can see the principles of the pick line. It allows you to create an element, offset or replicate an element already existing in your view. This principle of using a pick line to create elements is consistent across Revit. You will see more application of it as the class progresses. Just as a side note, you can also create curved grids using the same principle. As a demonstration, I will pan away from my drawing area and create curved grids so you can see how it works. I will select all the curved grids and delete them. Now let's open an elevation view. You can see that the grid lines and the levels are visible. These are also visible in sections. Before we create a section, let's give our horizontal grid line a consistent distance. For us to do that, we need to add dimensions to the 3 horizontal grid lines. Select the Align Dimension from the Annotate tab. Add dimensions to the 3 grids by clicking once on the grid lines. To change the dimension, click once on the grid line and notice the dimension now becomes active. Click on the dimension value and type 3 meters. Repeat the process for the second grid line. The grid lines are now consistent in their distance across our project. Creating walls. At this point, let's create walls around the grid lines. Navigate to the ground level and select the Wall tool from the Architecture tab. Create 2 walls along the grid lines O2 and O3 as shown. Now let's create more walls using the pick line method. With the wall command active, select the pick line and click on grid line B. Notice, as mentioned earlier, that the pick line functions similar to when we created the levels and grid. This method of creation by picking an existing geometry as a reference is consistent throughout Revit. In fact, we can form other wall shapes using different line shapes. Let's create more walls using the rectangular shape. Click on the rectangle tool and click once on the grid intersection and click again on the opposite intersection of the grid to complete the shape. Sections. Let's now create a section view. On the View tab, click on the section icon. Click once and drag in the desired direction to create a section view. Select the section and rename it. This time, I will find the section in the project browser. Right-click and rename it directly from the project browser. Rename it Cross Section A. Double-click on the section to open the view, and I will adjust the handle to display the entire level. Modifying walls. Now let's adjust the wall heights. Open the elevation view. I will modify the walls so they are connected to the levels properly. Select one of the walls and adjust the top and bottom height by dragging the control. In this case, drag the top down to align with level 1. You may want to see the effect of your changes in another view. And to do this, close all the views you have open one after another. Use this button to close all the views you have opened at once. Now open the 3D view and on the View tab, click on Tile Windows. You can now see the two views side by side. When you make a change in one view, you see the effect immediately in the other view. Let's continue to modify the height of the walls by selecting another wall and set the height to 1 meter. I will type 1 meter in the property panel. Select the remaining walls and constrain the top to level 1. To do this efficiently, select one wall and hold down the Control key on your keyboard and select the additional walls. Change the top constraint to level 1. Now let's see how the walls will react when we adjust the levels. I will select level 1 and adjust the elevation to 4 meters. Notice how the walls react to the change in level height. All the walls that had their top constraints to a level adjusted accordingly. However, we will need to manually adjust the remaining walls to align with the new level heights. I will now adjust one of the walls to accommodate for the level change. Now, I will reset the level height back to 3 meters. Notice that we encountered the same problem. The walls that have not been constrained still does not react to the level change. To resolve this, I will ensure that all my walls are constrained to a level. This practice makes for easier adjustment and faster modeling. I will now constrain the top of the wall and give it a negative offset to adjust for the change. Now, if I adjust the level, all my walls are correctly constrained and they adjust to suit. Cleaning wall joints, align, trim, and extend. Let's clean the wall edges. Go to the plan view, select the middle wall and drag the control to join with the vertical wall. I can also use the align command to make sure my walls are perfectly aligned. On the Modify tab, select the Align tool. Select the reference element, that is, the element to align other elements to. In this case, I will select the vertical wall. Then, select the elements to be aligned. Move the cursor over the element until part of the element with the reference element is highlighted. Click once to register the align. You can also trim or extend walls to clean up the joints. Let's trim off a section of the wall. On the Modify tab, select the Trim or Extend Single Element command. Select the boundary reference and then select the part that you want to retain. The part on the other side of the boundary is trimmed. Let's trim off the wall at the other corner. Select the trim or extend to a corner command. Click on the parts of the two walls to be retained. Let's go over this process again using this scenario. I will pan over to the right and I will create a series of walls. No need to constrain the top of the walls for this demonstration. You can attempt to replicate the walls in my example as accurately as possible. Don't worry if it's not perfect, this is just for demonstration purposes. Use the single trim or extend tool to extend some of the walls. Use the trim or extend to a corner tool. I will use the single trim or extend tool to extend and trim some more walls. Now I will introduce you to a way to extend or trim multiple walls at once. Select the trim and extend multiple elements tool. Select the boundary and then batch select the elements you want to trim or extend. I will extend the lines and then I will clean up some of the edges. Select all the demonstration walls and press delete on your keyboard so we can return to our project. Placing doors and windows. Let's place some doors in the walls using the door tool. When you place a door in Revit, an opening is automatically created into the wall to accommodate the door. Click the Architectural tab and locate the door tool. Click once on the wall to place the door. You can change the direction of the doors by clicking on the control points. Select the door and click once on the blue icon. This flips the door in the desired direction. You can always change your door type by selecting the door and choosing another door type from the property panel. You can do this before or after you have placed the door, as seen in my example. If you want a new door design, you can always load new doors from the load family. I will explain how to load new doors or families soon, but let's go ahead and create some windows. Placing windows is similar to doors. Select the window tool under the architecture tab. Click the window type from the properties panel and place some windows around the walls as shown in my example. Let's load a new window type into the model. With the Windows tool selected, click on Load Family and browse to the Windows folder. Locate M_sliding with trim. Select this and load into your model. Now select two of the windows and change them to the newly loaded sliding window. You can always adjust the properties of the windows. Select one of the windows, edit type to access more properties of the window. Change the height of the windows to 2 meters and the width to 1.2 meters. Notice that this change affects all the windows of this type. But notice when I adjust the head height, this change only affects the selected window. In Revit, when you change an element's properties from the Edit Type dialog, this change will affect every instance of that element. But when you change an element's property without editing the type property, only one instance is affected. Let's practice this with the other window types. Select one of the sliding windows, edit type and change the width to 1 meter and the height to 1.5 meters. Because we made the change from within the edit type, the change will affect the other windows of that type. Now, if I change the head height to 2.1 meters, notice I will have to do it one window at a time. During the course of my class, I will explain in more detail the differences between the type and instance properties. Creating glass walls. Let's create a curtain wall at the end of our wall. I will go to the short section of our wall and select the wall tool. Change the wall type to empty wall glazing. Adjust the height as necessary. Although this looks good and correct, it is standard practice to constrain the top and bottom of the walls to a specific level. I will now proceed to properly constrain the walls. Let's clean up the joint of the glass wall and the brick wall. Navigate to the ground level. Use the Align tool to clean up the wall joints between the glazing and the brick wall as shown. Floors. Create a floor slab following these steps. Navigate to the floor plan. Select the floor tool from the Architectural tab. Upon selecting the tool, Revit enters the sketch mode, allowing you to outline the floor profile. While ensuring that the correct level is chosen, in this instance, we aim to create a floor on the ground level. Select the rectangle tool and create a profile from one corner of the wall to the other. Finish the floor profile and you can see our floor is now created. Now let's duplicate or copy the floors across all levels. There are two methods of copying elements in Revit, using the copy tool and the copy to clipboard tool. The copy tool is used when you want to copy an element and place it immediately, such as pasting in the same view. But to copy the floor across levels, we will use the copy to clipboard tool. The copy to clipboard tool is used when you need to switch views before placing the copies, or when you need to copy elements from one level to another. Let's demonstrate this by selecting the floor. Under the Modify tab, click on the Copy to Clipboard tool. Now locate the Paste from Clipboard tool and click on the drop-down icon just underneath that tool. Align to selected levels and select level 1. The floor is now duplicated on level 1. With the floor on level 1 selected, change the floor type to the one you see on screen. Now let's copy the floor on level 1 across the other floors. Again, make sure the right floor is selected and copy the floor to the clipboard. Under the paste from clipboard, make sure all the levels you want to paste the floor into is selected. This time around, I will select levels 2 up to level 11. You will notice that the floor and walls on level 1 are clashing with one another. Let's resolve the clashes by giving the wall the correct height offset. Select all the elements including the doors and windows. Now I will use the filter command to filter out unwanted elements from my selection. Click on the filter icon. Make sure only the wall is ticked and click OK. You now notice that all the other elements are filtered out from my selection. Adjust the top offset of the selected walls to -211 mm. This perfectly aligns the top of the wall to the bottom of the floor. It is now time to copy and paste all the walls, doors, and windows on my ground level across multiple floors. Once again, select all the elements on the ground level and use the filter command. This time around, ensure you have removed floors from this checklist. Paste all the elements from levels 1 up until level 11. Introduction to warnings. When we adjusted the height of the wall, the solid wall and the curtain walls are now clashing with each other. This conflict is highlighted through warnings. During any phase of a project, you can review a list of warning messages to identify issues that might need your attention for review or resolution. To access the warnings, click on the Manage tab, locate the Review Warning Tools under the Inquiry panel. You can see that Revit flags the overlapping walls as needing your attention. After all, it is not a standard practice to have two walls overlapping each other. Let's proceed to resolve the warnings by resolving the clashes. We can use one of two methods: by joining the two walls together or by using the embed walls. I will now show you the two methods and explain which one is better. We will use the Cut Geometry command under the Modify tab. Select the Cut Geometry tool. Select the first geometry to cut, that is, the brick wall. Then, select the second geometry to cut the first width, that is, the curtain wall. You can remember it using this mantra: cut geometry A with geometry B. Now you can see that for the ground floor, the curtain wall and the brick wall is now displaying correctly. But we don't have to follow this process through the rest of the floors. We can use a better method, which is the Automatically Embed tool. To make sure Revit cuts out an opening whenever there is an intersection between the curtain wall and the brick wall, use the Embed Wall option. Select the curtain wall. Make sure you select the curtain wall and not the grid. You can see a preview of the curtain wall before you select it. Edit the type properties and select automatically embed as one of the options and click OK to accept the change. The curtain wall is now automatically embedded into the brick wall, resolving the clashes. Because we automatically embedded the walls from the type property, the change is reflected across all floors. Now let's add some stairs to our design. Adding stairs. Navigate to the ground level. On the Architectural tab, click on the Stair tool. Click once and drag to create a stair. Finish this sketch and switch to 3D view to see the stair. Using the Align tool, ensure the wall and the stair is properly aligned. Now select the stair and change the type to a concrete stair. Connecting stairs to other floors. To make the stair connect to other floors, use the multi-story stair feature. Click on the stair to activate the options and choose Select Levels under Multi-story stairs. Now select the levels you want the stairs to connect to. The multi-story stairs automatically connects the levels. It even groups all the stairs together for efficient management and adjusts to your levels if you change the levels. Using the Move tool. To move the stair 1.2 clear of the wall, follow these steps. Select the stair, then click on the Move tool from the Modify tab. Click once on the edge of the wall to select the starting point of the movement. Move the mouse in the desired direction and click again to complete the move. For more precision, type a value for the distance to move the element and press Enter. In this case, I will undo the move and then I will repeat the process. But this time, I will type 1.2 meters to register the precise distance. Modifying floors. Let's modify the floors to create a walkway around the flats. I will have to change the profile of a floor to adjust its boundaries. Select the floor on level 01 and edit the boundary. The floor's profile changes to a purple line and everything else on the screen is grayed out, allowing you to edit only the line. Switch the view to top view for easy editing. From the draw options of the edit sketch, select the rectangle tool. Change the offset to 1.2 meters. Draw a new profile from one corner to the other. Select and delete the old profile and finish to complete the change. And don't attach the walls to the floor. To ensure the floor is properly aligned with the stairs, follow these steps. Double-click on the floor to open the Edit Profile tool. Switch to the top view. Select the line and draw the profile to align with the stair. Ensure the profile is a continuous line with no intersecting lines. This is important. Revit would complain if the lines are not continuous. Use the Trim and Extend tool to refine the lines if necessary. Finish the floor profile and ensure not to attach the walls. Now the floor is properly aligned with the stairs. Select all the floors except the ground level floor and level 1 floor. Use the filter tool to refine your selection if necessary. Delete all the floors and then copy and paste level 1 floor across the rest of the levels. That is levels 2 to 8. The modified floors is now copied across all levels. We will need to modify the floor on level 8 to properly align with the stair. Double-click on the floor on level 8 to open the Edit Profile tool. Adjust the profile using the Trim tool and then finish the sketch. Again, make sure not to attach the walls. Adding railings. Let's add railings to the floors. Go to level 1. On the Architecture tab of the Circulation panel, select the Railing tool. Ensure the base level is set to the correct level. Sketch the profile of the rail following the edge of the floor. Use the Pick Line tool and set the offset to 50 mm. Pick the edges of the floor, making sure the lines are continuous. Finish the sketch and create another railing to cover the short edge of the rail. Copy and paste the railings to other floors. Edit the railings on the 8th floor to align properly with the floor. To do this, select all the railings, edit path, and then select and delete the redundant parts of the rail. Additional rail modification. Changing the rail type. To change the rail type, select one instance of the railings. And with the selection still active, right-click and click Select all instances in the entire project. This selects all the instances of the railings in the project. Change the type to glass_panel-bottom view. Now you can see all the railings in the project has changed. Adding roofs. Let's add a roof to complete the design. Go to the roof level. You will notice that the floor layout is not visible because there are no walls on the level. Use the underlay to preview the level below. Underlays are helpful when you need to understand the relationship of components at different levels for coordination and construction. Go to the Underlay section of the View Properties and select Level 8. The level below is now displayed in ghost lines so that you can complete the roof. Select the Roof tool under the Architecture tab. Sketch the roof profile using the Rectangle tool. Give the roof an overhang of 600 mm or 0.6 meters. Click to create a profile from one end to the other and then finish the roof. You can swivel the view to preview the roof. Change the roof type to roof_generic 125 mm. Let's change the roof design to a gable and then to a flat roof. Select the roof and edit its footprints. Select the short ends of the roof and uncheck the Define Slope option. Notice the slope icon is now gone from the short ends. Finish the roof to preview the change. Now let's edit the roof to make it a flat roof. Once again, double-click on the roof to edit the footprint. Select one of the ends with a slope and remove the slope option. Now finish the roof. The roof is now flat with a single gradient. You can adjust the slope in the property bar. In this case, I will adjust it to 7 degrees. Now select all the walls and attach it to the roof. So that concludes the introduction to Revit course. By now, I'm sure you've learned the basic principles. Remember where we started from? We started from defining the project, creating levels, grids, setting up the views, and then creating walls, making sure the walls are aligned and well trimmed. And of course, now we copied the levels because they are typical over multiple floors. And during the course of us creating those geometry, I'm sure you now have the basic skill of how to modify and create elements and geometries in Revit. But keep in mind, this is an introductory class. In my future lessons, I will take some of these topics and discuss them in more detail, just so that you move away from a beginner to intermediate, and then so you become an expert. If you have found the video helpful, please subscribe to the channel. You can find me on LinkedIn, Femi Oshewa, search for me. I will be happy to have you in my network. Let me know your comments. Feel free to share the videos. Feel free to holler at me, or even leave comments at on my website, www.abcbeam.com. But more importantly, stay curious and keep learning. Remember, it's only simple if you know how to do it. If you don't know, you don't know. Peace.